Join us in welcoming yet another Slovenian, Dr. Ankur Chaturvedi, whose journey is as diverse as it is inspiring. With a robust background in chemical engineering, Dr. Ankur stands at the intersection of science and compassion. A doctor in chemical process technology, he is an impassioned advocate for making healthcare accessible to all. Aside from a 13-year career in the field, he is also a stand up artist, painter, and travel enthusiast. He is a constant reminder of the boundless possibilities when passion meets purpose. Welcome Dr. Chaturvedi to the stage.
Good afternoon. Today, we stand at a crossroads in the healthcare sector. Should we carry on with the older standardized process of medicine as it is manifested today, or should we adopt a new and disruptive methodology of personalized medicine? Yes, it is the low road least traveled, and so it does have its fair share of manageable challenges. But just consider the rewards. What if we could reach into your genes and read your genetic code? What if we could understand each individual's susceptibility for a particular disease, an illness, or an underlying health condition? Now, when I say health conditions, it is caused due to a combination of factors: genetic, physical, biological, and physiological. When I speak about genetic factors, it is basically caused due to the misrepresentation of a gene in your genome. What if we could correct that particular gene and eliminate the error in your genetic code? It would definitely give you a healthier life and possibly even increase your lifespan. What if we could tailor make medicines, drugs, and medical devices, keeping in mind your peculiar biological considerations, your characteristics, values, and circumstances? It would place you in the driving seat. Yes, all this is possible. And therein lies the promise of personalized medicine. For the uninitiated, personalized medicine basically combines the best of genetic, biomedical, and biochemical research and couples it with your personal healthcare data so that we can come up with tailor-made, targeted medicines, drugs, devices, so that we could diagnose, treat, and cure illnesses and identify at-risk patients before the illness manifests. Now, today I find myself a chemical engineer working at the cutting edge in the biomedical arena. This was both by choice and by passion. I never wanted to be a doctor. Anatomy scared me. However, I always aspired to be the wind beneath their wings. I could never perform or take part in a particular operation, but today I have the wherewithal to support them with the devices, drugs, and medicines necessary for them in order to do their jobs. I could have pursued further research in traditional chemistry or chemical engineering related fields, and therein I reached my crossroads. I took the path less traveled, and here I am. So, it has been a tough, arduous, and a long journey, but it has been worth the reward. I have had the privilege to learn from and work with some of the best minds on this planet. And more importantly, I've had the opportunity to reach out and meaningfully impact the life of many patients. And for me, there can be no greater calling than that. Personalized medicine has been around for a long time. Come to think of it, Ayurveda is also a manifestation of personalized medicine and healthcare. In Ayurveda, we used to treat patients on a case-to-case and on a person-to-person basis. Then came the Industrial Revolution, wherein we developed standardized manufacturing practices for standardized medicine, and thus the pharmaceutical industry was born. Who had heard of the pharmaceutical industry 150 years back? No one. It was all personalized back then. In a way, we are now returning to our roots. Let me tell you a story, and I'm sure you have all heard of this one before. A patient goes to a doctor complaining of high fever. The doctor, based on his experience and his knowledge, suggests a line of treatment. The patient goes home happy, believing that he'll be fine in a couple of days. Fast forward 3 days, the fever has increased and has probably triggered an underlying health crisis. Now, imagine if that patient is you, and that fever is not fever, but rather a life-threatening condition. It is not the doctor's fault. It is just that your body has failed to respond to that particular line of treatment. Quite possibly, that particular drug did not enter your bloodstream. Today, with the advent of AI, supercomputing, and gene manipulation technologies like CRISPR, we can reach into your genomes, can take social determinants of health into consideration and your individual biologies, and we can tailor-make dosage forms for you. We can even convert dosage forms, say from a tablet to a syrup, from a syrup to an injectable. We can vary the dosage strength, and by doing all of this, we can reduce significantly the cost of treatment. Isn't it interesting? Now, as far as the human genome is concerned, you'll all be stunned to know that we have barely even scratched the surface. The human gene translates itself into what we call mRNA, M-ribonucleic acid, and further expresses itself as a protein in your body. Can you guess how much percentage of the entire genome have we covered so far? Less than 2%. And that 2% is worth 28 petabytes of data. So this field is actually in its infancy, but has a great promise in the future. Now, where do I come in? So me and my team recently had a massive breakthrough in the treatment of skin fungal infections. Now, how did we do it? My engineer training here helped me a lot. As an engineer, we are always trained to take the most efficient route possible, backed by data, of course. So what we did is, we collected a lot of data from patients who were suffering from that particular condition, fit that data for individual patient profiles, and based on those conclusions, suggested lines of treatments for at-risk and suffering patients. Can you guess the effectiveness of that protocol? 100%. Let me expound on this a bit further. We had a patient who was suffering from a very bad skin rash, so much so that the skin was literally flaking off, very painful. And none of the present standard medicines seemed to be having an effect on that condition. That is where we really earned our pay. We dive deeper into that patient's genetic code, or gene map, what we like to say. Now, gene maps are a lot like treasure maps. If you can read them properly, they will often lead you to the treasure. What we found out is that that particular patient was totally drug resistant to a class of chemical compounds, what we call azoles. Now, in standardized medicine, azoles are the only drugs known which can treat fungal infections of the skin. And this particular patient was completely drug resistant to that. It is not an isolated case. About 75 to 80% of the people do respond to standardized drugs, but 20 to 25% of the patients don't. And that is a significant and an alarming number. What we did with this particular patient is that we fit his data, took into consideration his particular biology, and suggested a new class of drug. And he was cured within a week. Presently, we are working on a cellular level to gain an insight into neurological diseases and disorders like ADHD and AHD, as well as certain types of cancers. Yes, we find ourselves at another crossroad. the one where we started from. 150 years back, with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, we took the path of standardized medicine. And today, we are back at the same. A lot of research is yet to be done in this particular field, and we have barely even scratched the surface. There are a lot of ethical conundrums and debates going on with respect to private healthcare data, and there is a lack of acceptance because of the lack of understanding and a lack of funding. However, those two bottlenecks seem to be easing now. This is a very promising field, and it promises us to give an insight into how the human body actually works and can give us potential cures for very, very challenging diseases. With increased knowledge will possibly come increased acceptance. And thus, we are pretty sure that we will successfully traverse this crossroad as well. Regulatory approvals seem to be coming faster than ever now. Who thought that telemedicine and virtual consultations will be the next big thing in medicine? The recent pandemic, while very unfortunate, has highlighted the need for us to adopt disruptive technologies and has underscored the fact that challenges and crossroads are inevitable. Success is a choice. We believe that in the next decade, 25 to 30% of all healthcare will be personalized. And with your engagement and your support, we feel that we will probably be the best version of ourselves, feel better, and live longer. Thank you.
We express our gratitude towards Dr. Chaturvedi for exemplifying the ingenious crossroads of science, which will surely have a lasting impact on our audience. Now, I would like to invite the curation heads, Diya Ramesh and Manvi Chitnis, to felicitate Dr. Chaturvedi. Thank you, Diya and Manvi. Let's have an enormous round of applause for Dr. Ankur Chaturvedi.